Welcome to Global Forecast. I'd like to welcome a very special guest to the show, one of my biggest personal inspirations, known unkillable woman, formerly known as Narrow State Disneyland, member of Strip Mall Seizures, etc., etc., Miss Lauren BOUSFIELD. How are you, Lauren?
Hi, I'm well. Hi.
It's absolutely fantastic to have you here. I have only on rare occasions have I ever gotten to speak to you with my voice, so I'm very excited.
Me too. We've talked before, just a little, but yeah.
Just a little.
Cool.
There's a spider in this closet that I'm sitting in. He's really fucking with me, but. Yeah, I'll come back for him later.
Do a dastardly deed. Or protect and get it. I don't know.
I'm just gonna keep my eye
You
on
look really concerned right now. I don't want you to be...
No, it's all good. I just don't want that bastard to put his legs on me. Anyway, so I have a couple questions for you. We'll start with, a pretty basic sort of, interview question. How long have you been making music? And what are your, earliest, memories involving making music?
I'm kind of a cheater because my parents were musicians and their parents were musicians. And I think even their parents were musicians, so I've never not had access to, the house I grew up in, I counted, and we had 42 instruments in it. Just a harp, a tuba, a bugle, a piano, an organ. We had a drum set, a set of bongos, a triangle. It was always there. And it was it was very much like growing up there. What instrument? What's your instrument? What's your instrument? And I don't know. I remember being 7 and wanting to really get into the cello. I was the cello is my instrument, and I had a long walk up a hill that I had to do, and I kept on having to go up this this hill with this fucking cello, and then I was you know what? I'm switching to flute, and that's when I was yeah. I was really young, but my mom and dad met in a band.
That makes sense.
They played jazz standards, of the 70s, I don't know, a lot of, Van Morrison, Take 5 type of stuff. Yeah,
mom and dad kind of stuff.
Yeah, smooth jazzy. So... Short answer, always, kind of. I wanted to ask you how long you've been playing, and why you I guess why you're drawn to the sounds you're drawn to.
I've been producing digitally for about almost 4 years now. It'll be four years in January. So really not that long, but it feels like I've been doing it forever. I started playing guitar when I was 14. Neither of my families are very musical. It's I've got one cousin who makes vaporwave on my dad's side. So there's that, I guess. And my dad has been playing the same 4 songs on acoustic guitar since before I was born. Other than that, nobody on either side of my family plays anything.
That's funny. That it's ironic that you're the trans one, but you don't make the vaporwave.
yeah, that really is that is a little ironic. There are just a whole lot of Vectroids out there these days. But God bless them, everyone.
God bless them everywhere, one and all.
Yeah, as for why I'm drawn to the sounds that I'm drawn to, I guess it's I don't know, I've noticed there's a hard correlation between attention deficit disorder and breakcore. There's always been it's every kid who's into breakcore is always the same sort of little spaz. and I feel like that's for a reason. Like there's something about like the constant like attention grabbing, like ever changing, like bam 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 bam, that like really like holds your attention when like you can't seem to hold it on anything else. And I think that those sort of textures and that sort of like really really busy maximalist sort of stuff really vibes with me, just because like I've always had attention issues. And
Yeah.
eventually, like when I started taking medicine that like worked for me, like for my ADHD stuff, like I didn't really get off of that music. I just started making it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, do you feel like it's kind of a, like, you'll try to make something, at like a 96 BPM or something, and it'll just like, you're like, why? What is the point? This is bad and it's slow and I don't have enough control over it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think it's also one of the things, like, when I was a kid, I was like really into Nine Inch Nails and really into like Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy, and both of those albums are just like, and also Skinny Puppy, like all of the, like Too Dark Park, which is, all of those albums are like Downward Spiral. They just like throw in every single sound into a sampler, and they just like, oh, we haven't used all the sounds in the sampler. Here's a backwards chicken. Here's like, a dishwasher running, and just have that like going in the background, like a tea kettle. Like, I don't know. It's and like that, it was such a mindfuck for me when I first, started listening to music on my own. I was just like, it's just everything. It's like any sound imaginable. Like the idea of samplers, like, and I just wanted to throw all the sounds at. I wanted to do it too. I was like, I'm excited. I want to throw all the sounds at the listener. And yeah, I definitely feel like I have some pretty obnoxious ADHD. Like, I'm very, how do you say? I am mischievous. I'm annoying to be around, and yeah, it's fine.
Mischievous, yes. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say annoying, but like I haven't been like in your physical vicinity, so
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's mind always racing. It's definitely like an extension of that. Like,
that's why you're always up until 5 a.m. all the time, is because you just.
I'm not as much now. Yeah, which is really nice.
You know what I bet? The reason is.
I have a lovely reason for that. Yes, it's true. Because Omi is here, and I'm getting good life skills and patterns, and just those things that come with being in a relationship. Where you sync up. Yeah, which is nice. I'm happy. Ask me another.
Okay. In a conversation I had with you like a long time ago, I thought I remembered you mentioning that like you used, like when you got into specifically breakcore, there was like, I think you said that there were like forums and stuff that you would like go on and interact with people like regarding breakcore and stuff. Like what sort of like online spaces were like important to you, like in that sort of phase of like becoming a musician?
Online stuff, like I was always on Dogs on Acid and Wadham, which is We're the Music Makers. Dogs on Acid was the more drum and bass crew or whatever. It was more like boom bap boom bap boom bap boom bap, stuff like that, like roughneck shit. I don't know. But like Wadham was always the IDM forum, and there was a C8 had a forum, and then Planet Mu used to have a forum that a lot of people posted on. But I don't know. It was fucking obnoxious for me when I was starting, and like as New Year's Day was happening, I was getting more like, I was like, there's no really like, how do I explain it? I guess when you're on the outside of a scene, you feel really shut out from it, and then I guess what kind of happened is how do I say it diplomatically? You get to see people are just winging it on every level. Like, I got to see that people are like, oh, it's not like, it's like, oh, you're just making these things that I thought were rules aren't really rules. You're just like doing stuff, and it felt to me like it was like this, like, you know, big intimidating scene or whatever. But it's like just people trying really hard to make a lot of sounds. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's like that with a lot of different scenes that I've been a part of until I've been, yeah, fully indoctrinated into them or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like coming from like a super musical family, like you like theory, like music theory is probably like deeply like ingrained in you, like at this point, and like from birth pretty much, right? Like it must have been like a big betrayal of expectations to sort of like make that discovery.
I mean, my mom always, it wasn't a question of like if, it was like, when are you going to start playing music, like in a bigger capacity. It was like, that was always, my grandpa was really against it. He was like, being a musician sucks, don't be a musician. um and I totally understand where he's coming from, but you know, it's hard. Life is hard. You walk outside and crows attack you. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you make rent and sometimes you don't. It's like that's art for you for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
It kind of does suck, but I mean, it's fun sometimes.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. I don't know. I think it's one of the saving things that has been such a lifesaver for me. Like, just like music people, because I mean, also when went before I transitioned, I knew no trans people, like
Same.
like zero. I was just like, I don't know. I think I'm. Yeah, I don't know. You know.
I definitely know. Yeah, I was definitely the same, and like I feel like what you're saying earlier about like kind of being on the outside of a scene and like kind of seeing the inside of it as being like very esoteric or like a very
Clicky,
sort of like
or yeah,
elite kind of deal, like that. I still feel like that a lot of the time. Like I never knew where to sort of like enter like the quote unquote like scene. Like I don't know where the breakcore scenes like are now. I know they're like I guess now I know they're like in Europe and like Japan. There's like nothing in the US, but even online, like it's hard nowadays to like find out where people are talking about breakcore, and it's like the like breakcore subreddit is like a ghost town, and like obviously nobody on like 4chan, like their music board moved,
for
like,
sure.
nobody gives a fuck about breakcore there, like, and I feel very lucky that sort of like a scene sort of started to blossom like underneath me when I started to like gain more visibility like doing breakcore stuff, and like I feel very grateful for that, and that's still sort of blooming, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But like I definitely know like that feeling of just like not knowing like where or how to like find like your people, and that's analogous to like transness, I guess, because like I definitely didn't know any trans people before I came out either.
Yeah, and now it feels like, I don't know. You just go on Tumblr and you're like,
Yeah, and now it's like probably a solid 95% of the people I interact with are trans. Like,
I know. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I kind of feel like that with the modular scene. Just like it is a new scene in which I feel like, oh, there's like a group of people pushing really hard for this awesome thing. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, how's it going? Yeah, but like the people that are like, I mean, I don't know. That's like a scene of late that has been really bright and vibrant and like exciting to me. Because people are pushing it. People are doing really incredible things with the modular scene. And I feel like a lot of the people that were making like, what it was, breakcore, IDM, jittery, like stuff, like wonky stuff, uh, ended up like getting modular systems and like going like, oh, I could do this, like I could have even more control, which is cool. And
I guess that makes a lot of sense that like the people who are into like IDM and breakcore and all the sort of genres that are full of just little idiosyncrasies and like they're all about like building something massive out of lots of teeny tiny pieces like would get into modular stuff because that's like directly sort of like similar.
I mean, like I oscillate a lot between like, I don't know. I definitely know that it's really gross to get so involved in something it becomes like fetishy, like so involved in the but for me, like making music is like I can spend all the time on like how I do it and like the nerdiness of the sound design and the way that I am running like algorithms on shit or whatever, just like going in depth. But at the end of it, it's like it's a song, and I want it to sound like good.
Right, yeah.
To me, at least, like it's easy to get like distracted and caught up with it, like the mechanisms that you use to make it. But I want to make, I mean, I want to make music where people feel feelings and where people listen to it and it's like, oh, that reminds me of this, or like, oh yeah, desperation, like
That's actually a really good segue into another question I wanted to ask you, which is that a while ago, like a long time ago, I read an interview of yours that I think was happening just as you came out because the interviewer was like using the wrong pronouns.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, but you said something along the lines of like making music for you is like a highly mechanical process and like not like a lot of emotional input like goes into it for you. And I like found that really hard to believe because like I think that what you just described, like making music that makes people feel feelings, is like you've been doing that shit since like day one. Like your stuff has always really felt like super emotionally charged and like I haven't like gotten that sort of like, especially like I've like the progression as I've seen it has been like I started listening to your stuff with like Narrow, obviously, like most people do, or most people I guess like in my age group do, and that was like I'd never heard like dysphoria personified so well, you know, like it in like Attention Shoppers. It's like it's just about like the eggiest album that I think I've ever heard. And there's just so much frustration and like fear in it and like paranoia, and it's like I haven't like found that same vibe like anywhere outside of your discography. So I feel like
thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It was very much like that. So I'm like, and usually when it happens, I'm having this funny thing where it's like, usually where I make music, it's like a response to stuff, like a response to some intense thing that I'm feeling. But I'm like, yeah, the thing, I don't know. I've had this conversation with other people, and it's like, like being trans doesn't fix everything, and it's like,
if anything, it just makes everything more complicated.
No, so it's like part of it is like, I'm used to making music when I'm really, really upset and like despondent, or I'm really like with the last EP thing, it was like all like, I'm pissed. Like I cannot use my fingers. Like I'm angry and upset and like ashamed and embarrassed that I like set myself on fire or whatever. And like just like that feeling. But now it's like, yeah, I kind of want to figure out, how do I say, to be able to step back from that and to like just to think about broader stuff when I'm actually making music, instead of my own fucked up situation. Because that's some bullshit, you know.
No, yeah, I get that. I get that. I definitely am kind of the same way where like I've sort of become emotionally dependent on making music to the point where it's like it's sort of my response to any sort of like strong emotion that I'm having. It's like if I don't make something to like process it, then I sort of start to get antsy, like I can't handle it.
Sure.
Regardless of whether it's like happy or sad or whatever. But like when I find like when I'm like really upset or like depressed, I end up making like a lot of like happy hardcore.
I know, yeah, I totally do the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't understand like how that happens. But then when I'm angry, it's like I'm definitely making angry shit. Like,
yeah. I guess just because it is like, okay, I have basic building blocks that are like drums. In reference to it being like kind of mechanical for me. I don't know. I do not have that problem anymore. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
I've definitely noticed too that there are certain like melodical progressions that you seem to use a lot, and in particular, it's like there's one that's in No More Worlds Like This, and a couple tracks on the album that came out before Avalon Veils that I forget the name of right now.
Yeah, Locked Into Fantasy.
Yeah, Locked Into Fantasy, and also on Fire Songs, and it's that one that's like...
Yes.
Like...
Yeah.
What is that like melody sort of like? What significance does that hold for you?
I don't know. I definitely like most of the stuff I write is in harmonic minor, and like the chord progressions are in harmonic minor. I don't know what it is. It's one of the cool things about music that I think is really wonderful, where it's like, I don't know, I try to work really hard at having like a specific sound to have it be like, this is the sound that sounds like me. So I feel like that's like, I mean, when you play piano and you're like, this sounds good, why does this one sound good and something else sounds bad? Like, what is the mechanism at work that makes it like rad? You know, what is it that makes it sound like you're soaring or you're like scared? I mean, like Bach worked out all this stuff. Like he went through every single scale and wrote like adjectives on the scale, just like, oh, if you play this, you'll feel this emotion if you play this, which is like going back to that mechanical idea, like of music being, you know, on one hand really emotive, and it making you think about being like, you know, 8 years old on a pier overlooking the ocean and like, you know, thinking about your mom or something. But on the other level, it's like people just inputting content into scales and numbers. It's like doing that in a correct or incorrect way.
Right. It's all just different sequences of the same 12 notes. Like,
yeah, like, I don't know. So I don't know. It's something I think about a lot, just because it's one of the, music is like one of the only things where it's like just describing it, like it doesn't get it. It's something else entirely. But like, you know, if you listen to it, like whatever you're listening to, like Chopin's Nocturnes, you're like, this is the feeling of it. I feel like there's, you know, it's nighttime and there's like mist and there's like, it's like romantic feelings. Chopin was so young when he died.
Yeah, Chopin was mad young, and his like nobody's really like still to this day sure like how it happened. They're just like it was probably tuberculosis, but
A
we don't know.
swan took him.
A swan.
A swan. I bet a swan just like delicately wrapped its neck around him and snuffed his life, and he went back to Swanland or wherever Chopin's come from. I don't know. Right?
Lauren. Wherever Chopin's come from. Poland?
Poland. Okay. Specific details. Anyways.
But yeah, I remember the first time that, like, sometimes I really miss music school because, like, I just, like, mostly what I really miss is seeing, like, my professor play the piano because, like, he's, like, a professional concert pianist, and, like, I saw him play Chopin's Ballade No. 4 once, and like I truly was like shaken to my core just because that piece is like so like the emotional energy in it is just like so prevalent, and like you can see that the player like really feels it, like it kills you by the time you're done with that piece, like you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's also another thing is like actually playing physically for me live is getting all. It's like really hard right now because my fingers don't work, and I get bruises on all my fingers, and sometimes they get like bloody and stuff from playing just because all the skin on my fingers is like new kind of baby skin, because there was no skin on the fingers. Now it's some skin, so it's like shitty hands.
Well, I'm sure Naomi likes it.
No comment. My baby hand.
No comment. Okay.
No comment.
Naomi pleads the fifth.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, like, what other kind of, like, classical, like, especially, like, solo piano, like, pieces are really, like, which ones do you, like, hold close to your heart?
Oh, I love Debussy. I love Wim Mertens. I love you mean older stuff or newer stuff?
I don't know anything about like neoclassical, honestly.
Thomas 80s I really love. He's done some beautiful pieces. Arvo Pärt is probably one of my favorite musicians like ever. He does some really spare, like minimal. It's almost like it's like sacred minimalism. I think it's gorgeous. I just can go on about Thomas 80s forever, but those are some.
It's really surprising to me that like you're like a Debussy kind of girl, because like I totally took you for like a brooding sort of like Bartok sort of.
No, I love Debussy. I really love the flowiness of it and the like naivety of it. I don't know.
Mm. There definitely is like a sort of naivety to it, like, and to like his whole personality, I guess. Like I remember in music school, like we learned a lot about how like people would like in music would constantly like criticize him, like his contemporaries would criticize him because like he was just sort of doing whatever, and they were like, that's not the right math, and he was like, I don't know, it sounds good.
Like why do you like what is the thing that makes you connect with a certain way? And I feel like as soon as I get that little glint of the thing that I'm like, that sounds like the shit that I like, I'll try to like make a thing out of it, like, and now I just think in notes. So yeah, I don't know, it's tricky. Anyways. Yeah.
It is like it is definitely like a thing that like people still haven't figured out, is like, why do certain things sound good and why do certain things not sound good? And it's like everyone who thinks they figured it out kind of forgets that like things that sound like happy or sad or whatever, like in like traditional like Western scales, like don't sound the same in like traditional like Eastern music and stuff. Like there's a lot of like sort of like dissonant or like what we consider to be like sour chords or whatever in like a lot of like traditional Eastern music that like we would just be like, oh, that kind of sounds shitty, or like that's definitely dissonant or whatever. And then like over there it's like the connotation's completely different. Like a lot of traditional like Russian and Slavic music sounds like very sort of like dark and evil or like mischievous or like angry, but like to them it's like celebratory.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that middle zone of like we're gonna rage, like
Definitely could be, yeah.
where like that like it's the same thing with pop music where you're like, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate everything about the world right now. I just want to go to a club, I want to listen to music and not think about my life, and I just want to like rage or whatever. I think that mechanism has been at work with like music for as long as there's been music, like
for sure, yeah.
which you can respond to it, but it's always, I mean, as long as there's a nightmare hyper capitalist dystopian hell ride in effect for people, we're always gonna want to make music to dance to or music to rage to.
Yeah. That sort of like primal inclination to just sort of cut loose.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily I don't have like, oh, that's pop music, or like, oh, I don't have any sort of like idea of highbrow, lowbrow, because it's like, I don't know. I don't think the people that are writing like pop songs haven't thought about this stuff.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. It's like I definitely like assumed that you were like past that point anyway. Anyone who sort of like holds any sort of music as like higher or lower than any other kind of music like doesn't fundamentally understand like how art works,
Yeah, especially
it's
now.
all about subjectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've speaking of like the like hyper capitalist terror machine, I've definitely noticed that like throughout like your sort of entire music making career, you've like thematically you've had sort of like an obsession with like commercialism and like consumerism and stuff like that. And I wanted to ask like why is that such a recurring theme? Like I understand that like it's definitely a recurring theme like in life, but like why to you does it seem like a thing that like goes well for like the music that you make?
Like it used to be a lot more a sense of sardonicness, just of like, but or like a sense of like me being able to like make some sort of critique or something. Like this is one of the things that sucks about being trans. It's like before I was able to go like think about broader systems and go like, oh, this is the critique I want, this is the critique I want. And I don't know, kind of after transitioning, it's been like, oh, you want to critique this, like deal with this like on a very, very basic level, like oh, you thought that was hard, like this is gonna be like extra hard for you. And it's like,
so is it sort of like embarrassing for you to like listen to older like lyrics and stuff just because of that? Like you sort of like
this stuff when I'm like singing like the like attention shoppers, I don't really like. I like the Nero stuff, some of it, and then sometimes I'm like, oh, you could do so much better. Like why didn't you do that, or why didn't you do that? That's a good idea, but you could have done it with so much, or whatever.
I'm extremely familiar with that feeling for sure. Like I have like a horrible tendency to like re-listen to my older stuff like all the time, and I'm constantly like critiquing myself, like why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this? And like the answer is always like because I didn't know how to do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll still do it anyway, and I'll still like feel shitty about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's why playing live is fun, because you get to fix all the mistakes you made originally. And then people will be like, whoa, this doesn't sound like it. I'm mad. And you'll be like, I don't care.
Yeah, it sounds how I wanted it to sound, and I wrote the fucking song, so
Yeah. Yeah, it'll change like 2 months from now and whatever. Mine.
yeah. And I think that sort of fluidity in music is cool too, because it's like with music being like a primarily experienced through like a recorded medium now, like in the time that we live, like it's good to be reminded that like one piece of music doesn't always have to be played the same way. And I think that's why I like covers of songs a lot, because it's nice to sort of have a fresh take on something that you're already familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, recently I haven't really been drawing from like, usually I sample a lot of like, known songs or pop songs, stuff like that, and put it backwards, but recently I haven't really been doing that. I think it's because I've been getting more into modular stuff. And I want like, I want to do some silly stuff with like sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I definitely got it all out of my system, because the last EP is like nothing but like breaks and like orchestra stabs and rave sounds and shit,
Yeah, it's raw as hell, and I definitely like was super into that the first time I heard it, and like subsequently all the other times that I heard it. But I was like, I definitely remember like listening to Fire Songs for the first time and just being like, oh fuck, Lauren, like like where's all the like but like I don't know, it was very raw, but still like very fleshed out, and like felt very full, and definitely like a lot of just like straight up amen stuff, and I was like very into that. Like that's my whole shit.
Yeah, it's funny. I like rarely ever use the amen, except for like when doing it with someone else. Like I made the song with her, and I was like, oh, I could use it now, But if it's myself, I'm like, that specific drum sample, like I haven't. Okay, can I tell you a funny story?
Of course you can.
So I was on tour, and we started having this conversation about like drum beats and like how drum beats have moved culture or whatever. And he was super 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 wasted, and he was just like, you gotta learn how to control the amen. Like it's like it's a life's work to understand how to control this one drum beat, but you have to control it. Like learn how to be the controller of the amen, like, and not let it have control over you. I was like, fuck, you are. So I think I got sketched out. I was like, I don't know if I can control the amen. Like, I don't know if I can. It's such a big responsibility, like, yeah. So I think I don't fuck with the amen because of that. Like,
that's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It's just a lifetime of work to control the aim. Or you could watch my 4-minute tutorial on YouTube and learn how to control it. Either way, I guess.
I don't know. It really like it was a weird. It definitely, yeah. I think because it's also loaded. It's a very 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 loaded drum beat.
Like as far as its connotation and
like it carries so much. It's like the 808, the amen. Like I don't know. Those are like culturally loaded. Like an air horn, like a what sample. The
yeah.
Like those things, it's like so it's very tricky to be like, I am being sly, I'm being clever with it, like, because I definitely feel like there's a tacky way and there's a clever way, and it's like, I don't know.
Right. I think that's kind of the beauty of stuff like that. Like I sort of really enjoy like samples that have just absolutely been done to death and that everybody knows, because it's like if you can take that and you can take this same sort of limited tool set that like everybody's had their hands on before, everybody's touched it, everybody's done whatever with it, if you can take that and you can like do something fresh with it, or like you can push it like any sort of boundary with it, like I think that's why like I'm so invested in breakcore and why I enjoy breakcore so much, is because so much of it centers around the amen break, and like people are of course there's like a ton of breakcore that's just absolute like garbage, like it's just whatever, it sounds the same as any other breakcore song, but then there are people who are still taking that 6 second sample that we've been like beating the dead horse of since the 60s and doing things now still that I would have never anticipated anyone to do with it. And like I feel like that sort of thing is like what keeps me so enamored with it.
I heard the thing, something that you were mentioning earlier, where you can misuse sounds that have been used to death. Like, I think that this is the same mechanism at work with, like, you know, PC music, and where it sounds really familiar, but people are just fucking with it in a way that where it's like Sophie shit, like where you're like, this sounds like pop music, but it's really, it doesn't, like, they're a little bit off in this way that is not familiar and like kind of uncanny valley-y. And I think it's really, I don't know, just like spitting back disposable culture back to itself, like in this, like, you know, like that.
Yeah, the whole sort of Ouroboros, and there's kind of like there's a tongue in cheek way to go about it, and then there's like an unironic sort of way to go about it, and it's like sometimes like, it's hard to tell which one's going on.
Yeah, like I definitely have never. I do not have. It's like all the stuff that I've done, and it's not been. It's not ironic. Like I'm.
I don't think you're capable of making like ironic art, Lauren. Like I don't mean that. Like I don't mean that with any sort of negative connotation, but like everything that you've ever made that I know of is just like I listen to it, I'm just like, oh shit, like this came from somewhere.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, like I'm not affecting it's not like a voice that I think is my special voice. It's like definitely like me. Like it's not an affect or anything like that. It's like, I don't know, which is something that I really value, and I'm really like, that rules about my stuff, or like about sure. or like something that I like about myself, which, you know, there's like not much, but like, yeah, that.
You gotta take what you can get.
Yeah, you gotta take what you can get. Exactly. For sure.
I sort of have like a fuck it philosophy with like all the shit that I make, where I just act on impulse all the time, and a lot of it comes out really goofy and stupid, and like I don't know how people interpret that. Like I don't know if people interpret it as being like tongue-in-cheek or ironic, or just like jokey or whatever, but like it's, at the end of the day, it's always just me doing what I want to do, and like me doing stuff that I think sounds good, and like that makes me happy to listen back to, and I feel like that's really all that like counts at the end of the day.
Yeah, your stuff is so like boundlessly fun.
Aw.
Yeah, which is cool. It's like definitely, it's very unironic. Like it seems like very, very unironic in this funny way.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's definitely me just sort of like pouring my whatever like into my DAW, like just sort of like I don't know, dumping my baggage, but sort of like putting it behind this mask of like, you know, a bunch of goofy like samples of like kids saying stupid shit that I like find on YouTube or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
It's sort of like all my like bummers and my joys and like all that sort of just wrapped up in like an attractive looking box that people might like to open.
Wait, so what, you've been using Fruity Loops now? I switched from Fruity Loops to I switched from Renoise to Cubase to Pro Tools to Ableton to Fruity Loops to Ableton back to Ableton.
Jesus fucking Christ, I can't even imagine. Like, I've only ever used one program. I tried to fuck with Renoise for a little bit once, just because like a friend of mine was doing some like really, really impressive break work with it, and I wanted to see if I could like figure out how they did it, and I opened it up and fucked with it for a couple of hours and was like, I can't do this. This is like making music in Microsoft Excel. I can't.
I know. Sometimes it's a lot of it is like, I mean, Renoise specifically you're speaking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the
Tracker software in general.
Tracker stuff is I mean it's like, yeah, it's pretty like unlovable, but I don't know, I'm gonna sound like a snob, but I think the MIDI is a lot tighter in Renoise than it is in Ableton or something. It sounds like a little bit sloshy, and I know it's like my system that I'm like making music on, but Renoise is like a lot lighter, and it's like the little.
I definitely know what you mean. Like, I've heard like break work and stuff like done in Tracker software, like compared to stuff done in like MIDI rolls and DAWs. Like, I know exactly what you mean. Like DAWs do sort of have like this slight sort of murkiness, like compared to like Tracker software. It's just so precise, like, and like surgical precision, just like somehow.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. And it's something I miss about when I switch to another, like I switched to Ableton now. It's usually like, but I end up using Cubase and Pro Tools for work stuff mostly, and Logic. People do Logic a lot. So, with like composers, when I work with composers, like the composing scene is like Cubase, Logic, Pro Tools. Like those are the only things that people use. They don't know about Ableton. They don't use it. They don't like it. No, thank you.
I'd imagine like I guess at this point it's like maybe like the quote unquote like lesser like DAW programs like FL Studio or Ableton, like I feel like they have sort of a connotation to them now where it's like when you think of FL Studio, like you think of like some kid like making like trap music in their bedroom, or like you think of Ableton, you think of like, I don't know, like some kid making ambient or like some bedroom pop artist or whatever, and it's like I feel like those more sort of like esoteric programs are like viewed as like being more like the industry standard because of that. Like,
yeah, and I think it's like a lot because Cubase has like incredible routing, and Cubase has like the routing stuff you cannot do in Ableton. Like, if anyone Ableton ever listens to this, like routing in Cubase is the best. Do that, copy it. I don't know what it is.
yeah, I'm sure that like the guys over at Ableton are definitely listening to my podcast specifically.
Yeah, yeah. They was it okay, so you can do this thing in Cubase where you have a chord, right? You have one chord, 5 keys. You can automate every single note on the chord. In Ableton, you can only automate the entire chord. Something like a cutoff on the entire chord. You can't go into the individual notes and automate them, which a lot of people like for using Contact and using like sample-based instruments, because a thing that composers struggle with is getting articulate sounds that sound expressive and, you know, convincing in terms of like being real.
Oh yeah, because a lot of your work sort of centers around like imitating like real instruments for like soundtrack work and stuff, right?
I like it. Yeah, I do that a lot. Yes. Use a lot of Contact instruments. And yeah. Did I tell you about Stork Woman?
Did I tell you about the what?
I made this monstrous Ableton template for myself. It's just opens up like 100 instances of Contact, and it has all my stuff laid out. Anyway,
that sounds like a great way to crash your computer.
It takes 15 minutes to load. It's very like unruly. Like if you like touch something, it'll go like no. But I ran it through this program called Vienna Ensemble Pro. It's a host for Contact instruments. But I love doing that. I love like quote unquote real instruments.
Yeah, you're a fucking wizard.
Oh, thank you.
You're a fucking wizard. Like, I can't, like, I, like, there's no way in hell that, like, I could ever, like, picture myself, like, having, like, the depth of knowledge that you have about software and shit. Like, I can't. I'm just, like, I am one of those kids, like, on a forum who's just, like, fucking winging everything. Like, that's me, for sure.
It's not, yeah. I don't think that's necessarily true, though, because I'll listen to stuff you do, and I'm like, I have no fucking idea how you're doing this. It's all relative. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's all relative. Like, didn't we have this conversation where it's like, you think I am like, you like it, you like what I do, which is great, but I'm also like, I listen to your music sometimes and I'm like, I have no idea how it's done. Like, I have no idea how you're making the stuff you do, and it's like,
that's so wild to me.
Isn't it? It's weird. It happens with everyone, though. Like, I feel like it happens with every musician. I don't know. I do it with so many musicians, like friends, where I'm just like, I have no idea how you pulled this off. Like, this is monstrous.
Yeah, that's how I feel about, like, I think everybody I know who, like, produces. I don't know how any of them are doing anything that they do.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I have a very limited scope of, like, how digital audio works and stuff. But
yeah,
I can only imagine the effect is much greater when you actually do have, like, a knowledge of that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. So I was just reminded, this kind of relates to the thing we were talking about earlier, where you have, quote unquote real instruments and quote unquote, like, quote unquote real instruments, or like replications of things. And then you get into the whole idea of like, the hardware versus software, like making stuff on hardware versus making stuff on software. But so we're working on a piece of software that bridges the gap between hardware instruments and software instruments. We're currently developing it right now, and yeah, we will be putting it up everywhere soon.
The very nice elevator pitch.
Yes. Okay.
Also, we have been recording for like a solid hour and 10 minutes at this point, so I'm gonna say that it's probably about time to wrap up.
Okay.
But thank you so much for taking the time to have this Discord call with me and to reveal all of your secret origin stories about how you got all of your superpowers and became the unkillable human that you are today.
Thank you. Thank you. You're very gracious.